He was the son of the city's most feared Mafia boss, a young man no one dared to offend. Every chef, every servant in the mansion feared his temper. Dishes from the finest restaurants were rejected, hurled to the floor, untouched. Until one night, a new waitress nervously placed a simple plate before him, pasta cooked with trembling hands. He took one bite and went still. No one knew why he accepted hers, not even her. But that single moment would pull her into a world of secrets, vengeance, and a fragile connection born from something as innocent as a meal. The storm had started before sunset, and now rain hammered against the villa's tall windows like impatient fists. Thunder rolled across the valley, a low growl that seemed to mirror the tension inside the dining hall. Nathan Castellano sat at the head of the long mahogany table, his weathered hands folded, his expression carved from stone. At the opposite end, his son Vincent stared at nothing, a statue of controlled fury. Between them stretched 12 feet of polished wood, untouched plates, and 20 years of silence. The staff knew the ritual. Every evening at 8, the kitchen would prepare a meal worthy of kings. Every evening, Vincent would reject it. Sometimes with a glance, sometimes with violence. Tonight, head chef Marcus entered first, carrying a silver platter with both hands. His white uniform was spotless, but sweat beaded at his temples. Behind him came 2 servers, their faces blank masks of professionalism that barely concealed their fear. Marcus set the dish before Vincent with the care of a man defusing a bomb. Seared duck breast with cherry reduction, microgreens arranged like artwork, potatoes carved into perfect spheres. Vincent's dark eyes barely flickered down. 3 seconds. That was all the acknowledgement the hours of preparation received. His hand moved slowly, deliberately. He picked up the fork. Marcus held his breath. Then Vincent's wrist flicked sideways. The plate sailed across the table, shattering against the marble floor. Sauce splattered the wall like blood. The potatoes rolled under chairs. No one moved. Nathan didn't even blink. Marcus retreated, bowing. Within minutes, a second dish arrived, pan-seared salmon with dill cream. It lasted 4 seconds before joining the duck on the floor. The third attempt was braised short rib. The fourth, handmade ravioli. The fifth, something with truffles that cost more than most people earned in a month. All of them met the same fate. By the time the kitchen sent out the 6th dish, the staff was close to panic. They knew what happened when Vincent's patience truly ran out. 2 months ago, a server had tripped carrying soup. The man now worked in the garden, having lost 2 fingers to Vincent's rage. In the kitchen, chaos reigned. Pots clanged, voices rose in desperate argument. Marcus barked orders while wiping sweat from his face with a towel that had seen too many disasters tonight. Harper Reed had been working at the Castellano estate for exactly 11 days. She kept her head down, did what she was told, and tried not to think about the rumors. The pay was extraordinary. Her mother needed medicine that insurance wouldn't cover. That was all that mattered. She was supposed to be washing dishes. Instead, she stood frozen near the prep station, watching grown men panic like children. Something about the whole scene struck her as absurd. All this fear over a man who wouldn't eat. All this waste because someone was too proud or too angry to accept a meal. Without thinking, she moved to the stove where a pot of water still simmered. Her hands worked automatically, muscle memory from years of cooking for her family. She pulled pasta from the dry goods shelf. Butter, garlic, parmesan, pepper. No one noticed her. They were too busy arguing about whether to try the lobster or risk the veal. 5 minutes later, she had a plate. Simple pasta with garlic and oil. The kind of thing her grandmother used to make. Poor people's food, her mother called it. But it had always tasted like home. Harper carried it through the kitchen doors before her courage could fail her. The dining hall had gone quiet. Vincent sat motionless, his jaw tight with barely controlled anger. Nathan was saying something in a low voice, words Harper couldn't make out. The floor glittered with broken porcelain and wasted food. She walked forward on legs that wanted to collapse. Her hands shook so hard the plate rattled. She was going to be fired. Or worse. She'd heard the stories about people who displeased the Castellanos. But she thought of her mother in that hospital bed, machines breathing for her, bills piling up like snow in winter. She thought of the job she desperately needed. Harper set the plate down in front of Vincent. For the first time that evening, he looked directly at what had been placed before him. His eyes, dark as gunmetal, lifted to meet hers. She expected rage. She expected the plate to fly. She expected pain. Instead, Vincent picked up his fork. The room seemed to hold its breath. Even Nathan had gone still, watching his son with an expression Harper couldn't read. Vincent twirled pasta around the fork with practiced ease. He lifted it to his mouth. He chewed. He swallowed. Then he took another bite. And another. Harper stood there, trembling, unable to move. She watched this dangerous man eat her simple cooking with the focus of a monk at prayer. He didn't look at her again, didn't speak, just ate. When the plate was empty, Vincent set down his fork and leaned back in his chair. His face remained unreadable, carved from marble, but his hands were steady for the first time that evening. Nathan's voice cut through the silence like a blade. "Find out who cooked that. I want to know everything about them." Harper's blood turned to ice. The room seemed to tilt. She managed a small curtsy, then fled back to the kitchen on legs that barely held her. Behind her, she didn't see Nathan lean forward, studying his son with the calculated interest of a chess master who had just witnessed an unexpected move. She didn't see Vincent's fingers tighten on the edge of the table, knuckles white with something that might have been fear or might have been hope. All she knew was that she had done something impossible, and in the Castellano household, the impossible always came with a price. Harper didn't sleep that night. She lay in her small room on the third floor of the staff quarters, staring at the ceiling, listening to the storm finally exhaust itself into silence. By morning, everyone knew. The new girl had done what a dozen trained chefs couldn't. Whispers followed her through the corridors. Some staff looked at her with admiration, others with envy barely concealed behind polite smiles. Marcus found her in the laundry room, folding linens with hands that wouldn't stop shaking. "Mr. Castellano wants to see you," he said. His voice carried no warmth. "The private dining room. Noon sharp." Harper's stomach dropped. "Which Mr. Castellano?" she managed to ask. Marcus's expression answered before his words did. "Vincent." The private dining room was smaller than the grand hall, but somehow more intimidating. Dark wood panels climbed the walls. A single window overlooked the garden, where roses grew in ruthless perfection. The table could seat 6, but only one chair was occupied. Vincent sat with his back to the door, looking out at the garden. He didn't turn when Harper entered, though she was certain he'd heard her footsteps. She stood there, waiting, her pulse hammering in her throat. The silence stretched until it became painful. Finally, he spoke. "Why did you cook that?" His voice was different than she expected, quieter, almost gentle, but there was steel underneath, like velvet wrapped around a knife. Harper swallowed hard. "I didn't mean to overstep, sir. I just thought—" "You thought what?" She chose her words carefully, knowing each one might determine her fate. "That maybe you didn't want complicated food. That maybe you wanted something simple, something real." Vincent turned then, and Harper got her first real look at him in daylight. He was younger than she'd thought, perhaps 28 or 29. Handsome in a severe way, with sharp cheekbones and a mouth that looked like it had forgotten how to smile. But his eyes held something unexpected. Exhaustion. Deep, bone-tired weariness. "Where did you learn to cook?" he asked. "My grandmother. She raised me after my father died. We didn't have much money, so she taught me how to make meals from almost nothing. That pasta, it was her recipe." Vincent studied her with an intensity that made her want to look away. She forced herself to hold his gaze. "You're not afraid of me," he said. "It wasn't a question." "I am," Harper admitted, terrified. "But I need this job. My mother is sick. I can't afford to lose it." Something flickered across Vincent's face. Respect, maybe, or recognition. "Sit down," he said, gesturing to the chair across from him. Harper sat, her spine rigid, hands folded in her lap. Vincent reached under the table and pulled out a covered dish. He set it between them and removed the lid. Inside was pasta, the same kind she'd made the night before. But this looked different. The garlic was burned, the oil separated. It was a mess. "I tried to make it myself this morning," Vincent said. He almost sounded embarrassed. "I failed." Harper blinked in surprise. "You wanted to learn how to make it?" "I wanted to see if I could taste it again. If it was real." He paused, his jaw tightening. "For a long time, I haven't been able to eat anything. Couldn't trust it. Couldn't stand the sight of it." "Why?" The question escaped before Harper could stop it. Vincent's expression hardened. "That's not your concern." Silence fell again. Then Vincent pushed the ruined pasta toward her. "Show me how to do it properly." Harper stared at him. "You want me to teach you?" "No." Vincent leaned back in his chair. I want you to cook it again, right now, and I want to understand why yours was different. They moved to a small kitchen adjacent to the dining room. Harper had never seen it before. It was clearly Vincent's private space, equipped but rarely used. Copper pots hung from hooks, their surfaces spotless from neglect. Vincent watched from the doorway as Harper worked. She moved with efficient grace, each motion practiced and precise. Water into the pot, salt, heat. While the water boiled, she minced garlic. Not too fine, not too coarse, just enough to release the flavor without bitterness. You don't measure anything, Vincent observed. My grandmother used to say good cooking comes from the heart, not a measuring cup. Harper glanced at him over her shoulder. You feel when something is right. The pasta went into the boiling water. She stirred it once, gently, then turned her attention to the garlic. Olive oil in a pan, not too hot. The garlic went in, sizzling softly. The smell filled the kitchen, warm and welcoming. That smell, Vincent said quietly. I remember that smell. Harper didn't ask what he meant. She drained the pasta, saving some of the starchy water, tossed the pasta in the garlic oil, added water until the sauce came together, glossy and light. Parmesan, black pepper. Done. She plated it and handed it to Vincent. He carried it back to the dining room, sat down, picked up his fork. Harper stood in the doorway, unsure if she should leave or stay. Vincent took a bite, closed his eyes. For a moment, his face softened into something that might have been peace. He ate every bite. When he finished, he set down his fork and looked at Harper with an expression she couldn't decipher. You'll cook for me again tomorrow, he said. Not a request. A statement. Harper nodded, not trusting her voice. And every day after that, he paused. Whatever you make, I'll eat it. Only yours. Why? Harper found her voice. Why only mine? Vincent stood, walking to the window. Because your food doesn't taste like fear. It tastes like someone who cares whether the person eating it lives or dies. The words hung in the air between them, heavy with meaning Harper was only beginning to understand. Before she could respond, Vincent's phone buzzed. He glanced at it, and his expression hardened back into the mask she was learning to recognize. You can go, he said, his voice cold again. Someone will inform you of the schedule. Harper left, her mind spinning. Behind her, Vincent remained at the window, staring out at the roses that grew beautiful and sharp with thorns. In another part of the house, Nathan Castellano sat in his office, listening to a recording of the entire conversation. When it ended, he picked up his phone and made a call. Find out everything about Harper Reed, he said. Family, friends, debts, weaknesses, everything. He hung up and steepled his fingers, thinking. His son had finally found something he wanted. That was good. It was also dangerous. In Nathan's world, everything you wanted could be used to control you. And anything that gave his enemies leverage was a liability that needed to be eliminated or secured. He would wait, watch, and when the time came, he would make sure this new variable in his son's life became an asset rather than a weakness. Outside, the storm clouds were gathering again. The arrangement became routine within a week. Every morning at 7, Harper would arrive at Vincent's private kitchen. She would cook breakfast, simple things that reminded her of home. Scrambled eggs with herbs, toast with butter and jam, oatmeal with honey and cinnamon. Vincent would sit at the small table by the window and eat in silence. Sometimes he would nod when he finished. Sometimes he would leave without a word, but he always ate everything she prepared. The other staff watched this development with mixed emotions. Marcus seemed relieved that Vincent's violent episodes had stopped, but his pride was wounded. The servers whispered about the girl who had somehow tamed the monster. The guards reported everything to Nathan, who listened and calculated. Harper tried to ignore the attention. She focused on her work, sent money home to her mother, and kept her questions to herself. But curiosity gnawed at her. Why had Vincent stopped eating? What had happened to make a grown man fear something as basic as food? The answer came on a rainy Thursday afternoon. Harper had been looking for extra flour in the main kitchen's storage room when she overheard two of the older servants talking. They didn't know she was there, hidden behind shelves of supplies. It's been 18 years, one said. Her voice was thick with emotion. 18 years since Mrs. Castellano died. The other woman made a soft sound of sympathy. That poor boy, only 10 years old, watching his mother collapse at the dinner table. They say he tried to give her CPR, but the poison was too fast. Harper's blood went cold. Mr. Nathan never found out who did it, the first woman continued. Rival family most likely. They got to one of the cooks somehow. Put something in her food. She was dead before the ambulance arrived. And Vincent saw the whole thing. Saw it, lived with it. The boy hasn't been right since. Won't touch food unless he knows exactly where it came from, who made it, how it was prepared. Mr. Nathan had to hire food tasters for years. Even then, Vincent barely ate. They moved away, their voices fading. Harper stood frozen among the shelves, her heart pounding. Suddenly, everything made sense. The rejected meals, the violence, the emptiness in Vincent's eyes. He wasn't arrogant or cruel. He was traumatized, still trapped in that moment when he watched his mother die from something as innocent as dinner. That evening, Harper prepared Vincent's meal with new understanding. She made chicken soup, her grandmother's recipe, healing food meant to comfort and nourish. When she brought it to the dining room, Vincent was already there, staring at nothing. She set the bowl before him and, instead of leaving immediately, she hesitated. "Sir," she said quietly, "may I ask you something?" Vincent's eyes focused on her. "What? Why do you trust my food?" The question hung between them. Vincent's expression didn't change, but something shifted in his eyes. "You haven't heard the story," he said. It wasn't a question. Harper shook her head, lying. "I've heard whispers, but I'd rather hear it from you." Vincent was quiet for a long moment. Then, surprisingly, he gestured to the chair across from him. "Sit." Harper sat, her hands folded in her lap. "My mother was everything my father wasn't," Vincent began. His voice was carefully controlled, emotionless, kind, gentle. "She used to read to me every night, used to take me to the park on Sundays, pretending we were a normal family." He picked up his spoon, stirring the soup without eating it. "I was 10 when it happened. We were having dinner, just the 3 of us. Father got called away for business. Mother and I stayed at the table. She was telling me about her day, laughing about something. Then she stopped mid-sentence. Vincent's hand tightened on the spoon. She clutched her chest, started gasping for air. I called for help, but by the time anyone came, she was on the floor, convulsing. I tried to help her, tried to do something, but I was just a kid. I didn't know what to do." Harper felt tears sting her eyes. "I'm sorry. The doctors said it was poison. Something in her food. My father questioned everyone, tortured half the staff trying to find out who did it. Never found the answer. The cook who prepared that meal disappeared the same night. Either ran or was killed by whoever hired him." Vincent finally looked at Harper, and she saw the 10-year-old boy still living behind his eyes. "After that, I couldn't eat. Every meal looked like the one that killed her. Every bite tasted like death. My father hired tasters, people who would eat my food first to make sure it was safe, but I still couldn't trust it, couldn't make myself swallow." "How did you survive?" Harper asked softly. "Barely." Vincent's lips twisted into something that wasn't quite a smile. "There were a few things I could manage. Bread, water, simple things I could see being made from start to finish. But most days I just didn't eat. My father was furious, said I was making myself weak, said weakness gets you killed in our world. He finally took a spoonful of the soup, tasted it, swallowed. But your food is different. When you cook, there's no calculation in it, no hidden agenda. You cook like my mother used to cook, like you actually care whether the person eating it lives or dies." Harper felt her throat tighten. "I do care. My mother always taught me that food is love made visible. When you cook for someone, you're taking care of them." Vincent nodded slowly. "That's why I can eat it. Because I can taste that you're not trying to hurt me. You're trying to help." They sat in silence while Vincent finished his soup. When the bowl was empty, he set down his spoon and looked at her with an intensity that made her breath catch. "You should be afraid of me," he said. "Everyone else is. Even my father, though he'd never admit it." Harper met his gaze steadily. "I am afraid of you. But not because I think you'll hurt me. I'm afraid because I understand you, and that makes you real instead of just the scary man everyone talks about." Something in Vincent's expression cracked, just for a moment. Then he stood abruptly, turning away from her. "You can go. Tomorrow. Same time." Harper left, but as she reached the door, Vincent spoke again. "Harper." She turned. "Yes? Thank you." The words seemed to cost him something, for making it possible to eat again. Harper nodded, not trusting herself to speak, and slipped out into the corridor. Behind her, Vincent remained standing at the window, his reflection ghostly in the darkening glass. For the first time in 18 years, he felt something other than emptiness when he thought about food. He felt hope. In his office 3 floors above, Nathan Castellano reviewed a thick folder on Harper Reed, medical bills for her mother, student loans, a clean record with nothing suspicious. She was exactly what she appeared to be, an ordinary girl trying to save her dying mother, which made her either the perfect pawn or the perfect trap. Nathan picked up his phone and made another call. Double the security around my son. No one gets near him without going through 3 checkpoints. And put someone on the girl's mother. If anyone tries to use her as leverage, I want to know immediately. He hung up and returned to the surveillance feed showing Vincent's dining room. His son was still standing at the window, but his shoulders had lost some of their rigid tension. Nathan remembered his wife. Remembered how she had been the only thing that kept him human in a world that demanded brutality. He remembered holding Vincent while the boy screamed for his mother. Remembered the hollow look that had settled into his son's eyes and never left. If this girl could bring his son back to life, then Nathan would protect her with everything he had. But if she betrayed Vincent, if she turned out to be another assassin wearing a kind face, then Nathan would make sure her death was slow and witnessed by everyone who might think to try the same thing. In Nathan's world, there was no middle ground. You were either family or you were a threat. Harper Reed would have to prove which one she was. And she didn't even know she was being tested. 3 weeks passed. Harper's routine with Vincent became as natural as breathing. She learned his preferences without asking. He liked his coffee black in the morning, but with a touch of cream in the afternoon. He preferred savory to sweet, simple to complicated. He ate slowly, deliberately, as if each bite was a small victory over his past. They talked more now, not about important things, not about the dangerous world Vincent lived in. They talked about books, about the weather, about the small, mundane details that made up a life. Harper told him about her mother's garden, how she used to grow tomatoes that tasted like sunshine. Vincent told her about the boat he'd once wanted to buy, a dream from before his mother died. It felt almost normal, almost safe. Then the threats began. First, it was small things. Ingredients Harper needed would go missing from the kitchen. Her uniform would end up torn or stained. Other staff members started avoiding her. Their expressions shuddered and fearful. Harper tried to ignore it. She told herself it was just jealousy, that it would pass. But the incidents escalated. One morning, she found glass shards mixed into the flour she'd been planning to use. Another day, the gas line in Vincent's private kitchen had been tampered with. If Harper hadn't caught the smell before lighting the stove, the explosion could have killed them both. Vincent noticed the changes in her demeanor. "You're scared," he said one afternoon. His tone was matter of fact, but his eyes were sharp. "What happened?" Harper hesitated. She didn't want to cause trouble, didn't want to seem weak or paranoid. "It's nothing, just some staff being difficult." Vincent set down his fork. "Define difficult." "Small things. Missing ingredients. Torn clothes." She tried to smile, but it came out shaky. "I think some people are jealous that you chose me to cook for you." Vincent's expression darkened. "Show me." "What?" "Show me what they've done." He stood, his voice dropping to something cold and dangerous. "Right now." Harper led him to the main kitchen storage room. She showed him the flour container with the glass shards, carefully preserved because she'd been afraid to throw it away. She showed him the gas line that had been loosened, the torn uniform stuffed in the back of her locker. Vincent examined everything in silence. When he finally spoke, his voice was ice. "This wasn't jealousy. Someone tried to kill you." Harper felt her blood run cold. "What?" "The glass in the flour. You would have noticed it, but I might not have. And if I'd eaten something you made with that flour, I would have died the same way my mother did." Vincent's hands clenched into fists. "This was never about you. You were just the tool. They were targeting me." "But who?" Vincent pulled out his phone, his movements sharp with controlled fury. "I'm going to find out." Within an hour, every staff member in the house was assembled in the main hall. Vincent stood before them like a judge, his father at his side. Guards lined the walls, their expressions blank but alert. Harper stood to the side, trembling. She'd never seen Vincent like this. Cold, ruthless. This was the man everyone feared. "Someone in this room," Vincent said, his voice carrying through the silent space, "tried to poison me through my cook. They sabotaged equipment. They threatened an innocent woman. And they did it all under my father's roof. The staff exchanged nervous glances. No one spoke. Nathan stepped forward. You have one chance to confess. Come forward now, and your death will be quick. Make us find you, and it won't be. Silence. Then, slowly, a young server named Daniel raised his hand. His face was pale, his body shaking. I did some of it, his voice cracked. But I wasn't trying to kill anyone. I was just angry that this new girl got special treatment. I tore her uniforms. I hid ingredients. But I didn't touch the flour or the gas line. I swear. Vincent studied him for a long moment. Then who did? Daniel's eyes darted to Marcus, the head chef. Marcus had been standing rigid, his face expressionless. But at Daniel's look, something flickered in his eyes. Fear. Marcus, Nathan said quietly. Step forward. The chef didn't move. Harper saw his hand twitch toward his pocket. What happened next was a blur. Guards surged forward. Marcus pulled something from his pocket, a phone, and tried to activate it. Before he could, Vincent was there, faster than Harper thought possible. He grabbed Marcus's wrist and twisted. The phone clattered to the floor. Nathan picked up the device, examined it, then looked at Marcus with something like disappointment. How much did the Rossi family pay you? Marcus said nothing. His jaw was set, defiant. Nathan sighed. Take him to the basement. We'll discuss this properly. Guards dragged Marcus away. His last look was at Harper, filled with hate so pure it made her step back. Vincent turned to the remaining staff. Anyone else want to confess to anything? Silence. Then you're dismissed, but understand this. Harper Reed is under my protection now. Anyone who touches her, threatens her, or even looks at her wrong will answer to me personally. Am I clear? A chorus of yes, sir, rippled through the crowd. As the staff dispersed, Vincent walked over to Harper. She was pale, her hands shaking. You're safe now, he said quietly. Harper looked up at him. What's going to happen to Marcus? Vincent's expression was unreadable. He tried to kill me. He put you in danger. What do you think is going to happen? She understood then. Marcus was going to die. Maybe he already had. And it was partially because of her. I think I need to go lie down, she whispered. Vincent nodded. Take the rest of the day. But tomorrow, you move to the East Wing. Closer to my quarters. More secure. That's not necessary. It is. Vincent's voice left no room for argument. I won't lose another person I care about because I was too stubborn to protect them properly. The words hung between them. Another person I care about. Harper felt something shift in her chest. A mixture of warmth and terror. Okay, she said softly. Vincent reached out, his hand hovering near her shoulder, then dropping. Rest. I'll have someone bring dinner to your room. Harper nodded and left, her legs unsteady. Behind her, Vincent and Nathan watched her go. She's in danger because of you, Nathan said. It wasn't an accusation, just a statement of fact. I know. Vincent's voice was rough. So what do I do? Nathan considered the question. You have 3 options. Send her away where she'll be safe, but you'll never see her again. Keep her close and risk losing her the way you lost your mother. Or you strengthen yourself enough that no one would dare try again. Vincent turned to his father. I choose option 3. Nathan's expression showed something that might have been approval. Then you'd better be ready to become the man this family needs you to be, because protecting her means taking your place beside me. It means accepting who you are. For the first time in years, Vincent didn't flinch from that truth. I'm ready, he said. Harper sat in her room, wondering if Vincent's trust was worth the cost.